Hello everyone, welcome to City Skylines Springwood City Unmodded Gameplay episode 11. We developed both of these in the previous episode, but we have rising residential demand and reducing population, which isn't good. This obviously doesn't help us get us to our next milestone of 17,000 people, which is actually not that far, but it feels really far. In this episode, we want to try to achieve that, and to be able to do that, I want to zone a new neighborhood here, but this one is going to be in a completely different aesthetic, something that we have not tried out yet. Additionally, I'd want these residents to start working as soon as they arrive instead of going to school, so that we can have increasing demand for commercial and industrial, which in turn would increase our residential demand, eventually helping us with our milestone. For this, we need to stop them from going to school, which can be achieved by this policy called Schools Out. Now, before we actually get to that, I'd want to zone some commercial in this stretch to make sure they have a place to work at once they arrive. And like we discussed in the previous episode, going forward, we want to plan zones which are more hybrid or mixed use. This obviously is still not going to be properly mixed use because City Skylines has its own constraints that make it harder to make true mixed use developments, but that can be a whole separate video, so let's not get into that too much. For now, we'll try to mix and match different kinds of zoning to start scratching the surface of mixed use urban planning. I'm also going to make pathways behind these buildings that would eventually connect with our new residential zone. And I'm also going to mix and match low density with high density commercial to add some variety. Alright, that looks good. So let's move on to our new residential. Now as you see, this is going to be on a slight cliff. So my idea was to make a lot of curvy roads which would have small homes on their sides, kind of like hillside homes that you typically see in mountainous areas. For instance, this one, which is from Burbank, California, near Los Angeles. This would provide a completely different aesthetic from the rest of the city. In fact, it would provide a stark contrast from this neighborhood, and this is not that uncommon in cities. You'd often see extremely even grids that suddenly break into a super organic zone because of a geographical feature like a mountain. So let's start by providing access from this road. We just have to be mindful of this interchange here, so we'd leave enough space over here. And I'm just going to quickly make a rectangle here to get an idea of where the cliffside starts from, and also if there are any other weird slopes in the terrain. And so as you see, this is where the slope really starts from. So we are going to remove this road and instead make it look like so. Nope, that's really weird, let's remove that. I'm going to make small strips of road here along the terrain and then connect them like this and then keep going. And I think you get the idea. So I'll continue doing this, making sure these roads are as organic as possible, and see you guys in just a bit. Alright guys, so we added a district in this, which for now I'm going to rename to Crest Heights because it is on a cliff closer to Crest Sawmill. And now let's apply the Schools Out policy to this one. And also let's upgrade the roads and manage all the stop signs here. Also, referring to one of the comments from the previous episode, I want to do a little experiment. As you can see, I've upgraded these to regular 2-lane roads as opposed to 2-lane roads with grass that we have pretty much everywhere else. The ones with grass won't allow parking, but I think they should help increase land value. So I want to see if these would impact land value in the same way. So we are going to keep this as is for now, give it some time to develop, and we'll revisit this a couple of episodes later. So now let's start zoning. I'm going to add small homes like I mentioned, and let's just make sure this place has a water connection. And yeah, small homes like these ones are exactly what I was imagining for this. Let's just make sure these have electricity, and now let's continue our zoning. I kind of want to make a cul-de-sac, but City Skylines obviously doesn't have inbuilt cul-de-sacs, so let's see if we can hack it. I'm going to try doing it with a really small roundabout like this. This really is the smallest we can go, and I don't think I really like this. Let's remove this. Another way I've seen people do this is with a small segment of a larger road like this, and maybe we can make it a little bit green, but I don't think I like this either. Anyway, let's move on. I don't think this is possible without using any mods, which I don't want to do. So let's continue zoning. You already have an idea of my thought process with this, so I'll see you guys in just a bit. Now we still have a lot of demand, so let's use more of these zoning squares to make more homes. We could probably mix and match some larger homes here, and then we could have some really small homes like these. These would be nice to see as well. So now this is where the similarities with our reference image kind of ends for this neighborhood. I want to make this area really green and walkable, almost to the point where it looks like a bunch of homes built in a park instead of the other way around. So for that, let's continue making pathways in this area, and going forward, we'll beautify this with trees and plants and make it really pleasant for our Sims to walk around. Now let's also connect this area with our main street via all these pathways. And that looks good. And I'm just going to rename this to Crest Village just because of the village-like aesthetic that it has. So yeah, that looks good. Now let's just make a quick pass over the rest of the city to see if we have any other problems. It seems like everything is fine. Even the death wave we were having seems to have been fixed, which is good. But I'm already seeing quite a few of our cemeteries already filled, which is not great at all. This really means the death wave issue is only temporarily fixed, and we really want to get to 17,000 to unlock the crematoriums, and we are about 1200 people short. Right now the most important thing is just building more buildings and making sure they level up. Speaking of which, let's make sure Crest Village has all the essential services. Now we have a fire station here already, but there are a lot of houses in Crest Village that doesn't have enough access because of how some of these roads are connected. So I guess for now let's bring this fire station here so it's more balanced between both of these neighborhoods. I think police access looks fine. We need to revisit fire, maybe connect this road all the way here, but I also want to be mindful about creating too many intersections too close to each other. So for now this is fine, let's come back to this later on. In terms of other services, we don't really want to have a school here just because of the school's art policy. They don't really need it. We might want to have a medical clinic though, although for now this one seems to be good enough for everyone in this area, so let's leave it out for now. Alright, so with this out of the way, I'm going to focus intensively on just getting the population to 17,000. We'll need way more buildings, so I'm thinking we can extend Mulberry Park with more high density buildings, probably by replicating this block here, while still making sure this is relatively well planned. So let me do that and see you guys in a bit. Alright guys, so we are still about 500 people short, so I'm going to extend Crest Village a little bit as well. This won't help with population that much, maybe this will increase like 100 people, but I want to do this first because I want this neighborhood to upgrade quicker. And I also want to have an estimate of how much space we can use here to pack more people. So let me quickly do this and see you guys in a bit. Alright, so this is what we ended up doing, and like I said, it increased maybe around 100 people. So now that we are through with this, let's move on to making more high density buildings. We have some space here that we can use, and previously we had issues with making larger buildings here, so I'm going to do it this way. I can also add one building here, and I know we have a lot of space in between these buildings, but I don't want to add anything more here because I still want to have some space around these to beautify them later on. Now we'd obviously need more buildings, so I'm going to extend Mulberry Park even further. I ended up adding a strip of buildings like so instead of replicating the same set of blocks again like we did previously, mainly because of two reasons. One, we have this highway here which we don't want to get too close to, and two, I don't want to make a lot of areas look the same, and I think two of these similar looking clusters are enough for this area. Let's just make sure the plumbing layout is correct for this neighborhood, and electricity shouldn't be a problem since this line is going all the way here anyway. So we are about 450 people short of 17,000. Hopefully these buildings would help us get there really soon. Although I think it will take a few minutes for people to start coming in anyway, so let's review Crest Village in the meantime. Alright, so this is looking really good if I say so myself, although we might be a bit too close to the highway here, but that's okay. We have a ton of space up there to expand our interchange in the future, and this is actually not too far from realism. We do have highways too close to residential areas in real life as well, but there are some really creative ways in which those are separated out. So we can definitely learn from that, but that's for the future. For now, this looks good. I think I'm going to add a few more pathways here, which I'll do right away. Alright, so that looks good. I think I'm gonna move on to other things in life.
Meanwhile,
and we have a death wave starting out again just like I predicted. My cemeteries are getting full, so I'll need more. Let me do that right now. I don't really want to, but at this point I don't think we have much of a choice. If we don't do this, these buildings will eventually be abandoned and our population will go down, which is the exact opposite of what we want. Okay, let's quickly check the budget here. Oh, the budget for medical is maximum, so there's not much we can do here. Okay, I'm gonna leave it as is. Let's just say panic is starting to set in for me. Let's hope the cemeteries we added fixes this soon. Alright, so at this point we need to get to our next milestone quickly to avoid these kind of issues. We started out this episode with the primary goal to create a new kind of neighborhood, which we were able to achieve quite successfully, while our secondary goal to get to 17,000, not so much. So that would be the primary goal of our next episode, while at the same time we'll be dealing with another aspect of city planning that could help a little bit with that. So that's been it. If you enjoyed this, please leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Until then, a goodbye.